Senate Bill 371 by Senator Barrow is enactment Title 14 relative to sentencing for certain sex offenses to provide relative to the administration of surgical castration for sex offenses.
Senator Barrow, on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. This bill is pretty straightforward, and Lord have mercy, whoever hit the button on the question didn't even allow me an opportunity to give my explanation. But certainly this is an issue that is clear. I think it's very clear in terms of what the intent is. It's something that I know about. It's something that I know the impact that it leaves on an individual when this crime is committed. And so it simply states that when a child has been raped, incest by an adult, that surgical castration would be performed on the perpetrator. And this would actually happen after their arrest. When they are arrested and have been sentenced and have served their jail time before they are released. 1 week prior to the defendant being released from the institution, this procedure shall be performed. That's simply what the bill does, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Senator Klein Peters, a question on the bill. He waves. Nope, maybe doesn't. I don't know. Senator Klein Peters for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, you know I support this. It came through our committee. You did change it to where that it has to be, the procedure has to be done before they're out of jail.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Price for a question on the bill.
Hey, neighbor.
Senator Barrow, thank you, Mr. President. Senator Barrow, with this bill, we're talking about castration. Will this also provide for female castration?
Yes, sir, it does.
So if a female has perpetrated a crime on a 13-year-old
Or younger, yes.
or younger, they will also be castrated.
Yes, sir.
And so with this, I know there's been some time when things have happened, people have gone to jail, but then they're exonerated. Castration is permanent, whether it's female or male. How do we get by someone who may get exonerated after, and then this has happened to them?
So the one thing that gives me a little bit, because I have struggled with this. I've struggled with this issue because I know the impact that it leaves on an individual who have been scarred for the rest of their life. But I also thought about in the event if someone is wrongly accused, which unfortunately we have a high number of that in Louisiana. It gives a lot of provision in here for the judge to be able to make that determination. And so my hope is in the process that individuals able, when they're giving their testimony, that the judge is able to see through the aspects of the case and maybe not sentence that person to actually having this surgical castration. So I'm open as this bill works its way through the process. If there's any additional language that anyone would like to offer, I'm open to that, because that is a concern. It's something that I have thought about greatly and dearly, but I also have thought about the number of individuals that I know who have suffered because of someone's act of violence against them and how their innocence has been stripped forever.
And I do understand that. It's just that this is something that's permanent, and if someone is exonerated after the fact, then they can never have sex again or whatever. So it is a concern of mine that we're going this far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Bowie for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. My dear colleague, I would be remiss if I would not, just for the record, state, just as we as a Senate on yesterday took into account the consideration, emotional and psychological, for Jewish Americans, Jewish Louisianians who were impacted by the use of gas, I must say that the use of castration, because that same type of hate was used to denigrate black men when they hung and castrated us. And so the use of that, I just need to say for the record, also has that same emotional and psychological issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And so you and I spoke about that, Mr. Chairman, and it is something that weighed on my heart very dearly and very greatly. But I have to say that I totally understand that. I totally understand that with my former husband, to my son, my grandson. I understand that emotional aspect that it has on black males. But I also understand the innocence that is stripped from young people. And a lot of young people never recover. They never recover from that level of damage that is done. And honestly, in my age range, you were not able to talk about it either. You couldn't discuss it. It was not a subject matter that individuals could talk about. So this is a very important issue and one that has to be addressed. And there are way too many young people who are still being molested, raped by people that know them most of the time, but sometimes people that they don't know, and not enough appropriate actions are taken for those towards those individuals who actually take the innocence of children. I see I have another question.
Senator Carter for a question on the bill.
Y'all gonna let me have a question?
I just want to express my same concerns that Louisiana has one of the highest exoneration rates, I believe, not only in the nation, but in the world. So the punishment here is permanent, but we have a history of exonerating people that have been wrongfully convicted in the state of Louisiana. That's a big concern that I think many of us are struggling with. The other concern is whether or not this is cruel and unusual punishment. I know this year we reinstituted the death penalty, and it disproportionately affects African Americans, especially African American men. We just heard from Dr. Bowie raise the concerns about castration and this history's long issues with that, especially as it relates to African American men. Those are the concerns with that, you know, and I guess we're asking, you're moving forward with it, returning to the calendar, considering it. Those are some serious concerns that we have about this one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Senator Miller for a,
But may I respond?
yes, ma'am.
Because I want to ask you, do you think it's cruel and unusual punishment for a child to be molested by?
Everyone want to stand up for that child. Everyone does. We want to provide resources. We want to love that child. We want to punish the people that did wrong. It's the castration part that is concerning. It seems cruel and unusual, especially given the complicated history of it, especially in the state of Louisiana. But everyone supports that child, loves that child, and no one wants to let off the accused lightly. We all want to punish that person, and sending that person to prison is serious. But the castration part of it, especially with the concern about exoneration, is just it's a step too far.
Well, I think it's a step too far when they molest a child, but I understand.
Senator Miller for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Barrow, obviously I share in your concern that some of the most heinous things are sexual offenses against children. And your bill deals with a whole list of, the bill would apply to a whole list of offenses against children. And obviously some I probably could support, you know, the remedy that you're, you know, and the punishment that you're getting. And I believe that you're trying to, one, prevent them from doing it, but also providing some retribution against these horrible actors. But some of the crimes that are listed in Section 541 that are sex offenses seems to be, they don't give rise, I believe, to the level of what what we're doing. I mean, we're not just dealing with aggravated rape and molestation and crime against nature, but also we're dealing with third-degree rape, second-degree rape. It could be a situation that is not the most heinous. We're talking about different than aggravated rape or forcible rape. We're talking about voyeurism. So where maybe the child was never even touched, didn't even realize the child was a victim. So I believe that your bill is extremely broad in scope, and that's one of the concerns that I have. And can you appreciate that?
I can appreciate that. So you're telling me that if we took some of those areas, and I don't know if I agree with all the ones that you just listed, but there may be some that I actually can agree with that you could possibly be okay with the bill.
I haven't practiced in this area in a very long time, and a lot of changes are made. So I'm still trying to figure out what the terminology means. So if you could possibly return it to the calendar, maybe we can tighten this up.
Okay. Mr. President, I don't think I have any additional questions.
The board is clear. You can close on the bill. Oh, now you do have one more question on the bill. Senator Morris. Almost clear.
I feel like Senator Miller made some good points about the broadness of the bill. I'm not trying to kill it. I voted to allow it out of committee. Would you consider at least temporarily return it to the calendar, or maybe eliminate something where there's not a physical attack on a woman?
Okay.
Just, I mean, if, it just seems like it's a little too broad, and it's a very severe, obviously permanent thing, and if we're going to do it, it needs to be for the most heinous crimes.
And so I will consider taking a look at that, but when you say, physical attack to a woman, we are still talking about children, so I'm assuming that you're still talking about children.
I mean
But
children.
I will consider some of these.
Voyeurism,
yes.
I can't remember the definition of third degree, but some sexual offenses are consensual in nature, and I'm fully supportive of that that punishment for a particularly heinous act.
Okay.
But if if Senator Miller and maybe the three of us can kind of figure something out, and just and bring it back later today, if that's okay.
Okay, we'll temporarily return the bill to the calendar.
Thank you.
Senator Barrow, are you ready for Senate Bill 371 by Senator Barrow? It's an act to amend Title 14 relative to sentencing for certain sex offenses to provide relative to the administration of surgical castration.
On your bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, after that lengthy debate, Mr. Chairman Miller and I went to the back, and it took us a while to get to a section of the law that actually gets to the crux of some of the concerns that have been shared as it relates to the most heinous crimes and tightening up the bill. And so there is an amendment. It's amendment.
Hold on your amendments.
Amendments sent up by Senator Barrow. They are set number 2404. 2404.
On your amendments.
So on these amendments actually tightens the bill up, and it goes to section 15541, where it talks about aggravated offenses as defined in this section of the law, which includes aggravated rape, first-degree rape, forcible rape, second-degree rape, third-degree rape, aggravated crimes against nature, molestation of a juvenile, crimes against nature, crimes, sexual battery of a person with infirmities, sex trafficking of children. And so it tightens it up. It gives them more definition in terms of how this can be considered when going before the judge. And seeing no questions,
I see no
ask
questions
for-
on the amendment. Anybody have objection to the adoption of the amendment? See no objection to adoption of the amendment. The amendment's been adopted. Back on the bill, I see no questions to close.
Members, I simply ask you to vote in favor of providing another avenue to safeguard our children and ensuring that those who provide offenses against them are adequately punished. Thank you.
Senator Barrow moves final passage of Senate Bill 371. When the machines are open, all in favor, vote yes. As opposed, vote no. Madam Secretary, open the machines. Vote your machine, members. Vote your machines. Vote your machines. Madam Secretary, close machine. 29 yeas and 9 nays, and bill is finally passed. Senator Barrow moves to reconsider the vote which will pass and lay that motion on the table without objection. So ordered.